Hello, dear friends. This is Cardiac Radio at 11 p.m. Welcome to Cardiac Radio. We are here live with you to nourish our souls together. And in another chapter, studying the book Mediumship and Attunement. A book that was written by the spirit author Emmanuel through the medium Chico Xavier. This book was psychographed in 1985, 1986, and it was published in 1986. And it is a joy for us to make it available in English here at Cardiac Radio after 33 years of this book. This book comes to us as another precious booklet guiding us about one of the abilities of ourselves, mediumship. You and I are mediums. Then what to do with it? Jesus, as our guide and model, is the medium of God. And so shall we become mediums of God. But to be mediums of God in the true sense of the word, we need to align ourselves with the cosmic consciousness, right? People give it different names. We say God. Cosmic consciousness, it's all the same. So how do we do it? And that's why Emmanuel is giving us this booklet to sharpen ourselves up, to calibrate ourselves with this cosmic alignment, with God. And that's why we are here studying this. Today, we're studying chapter 7. Of course, we have studied the preface that sets the tone for the book, reminding us that mediumship is mental force, that it's also a magnet. So I emit, so I attract. And in that two-way road, I connect. Thus, attunement being mutual cooperation. But what are we tuning into? And with what? With whom? That's an exercise. At each thought, word, feeling, vibration, we're connecting with others. In the previous chapter, we were learning with Emmanuel that mediums are companions. Mediums are workers, friends, and like anybody else, they have their issues in life. Mediums, Emmanuel repeats throughout each and every chapter, mediums are not supernatural beings. So each and every time we try to put ourselves higher than this, we are not calibrated. Every time we feel like Judas, remember, Judas made the mistake based on what? Vanity. Vanity. He thought that he knew more than the master. Thus, the good spirits at the Spirit side of Virginia bring to us that saying, the syndrome, Judas syndrome. When people enter that illusion, the illusion that they are going to be making a difference, that they are special, that they know more than others, and their life in their case is really going to be outstanding. Big mistake for Judas and for anyone who tries that dangerous route, the route of the illusion of vanity. Many people are going to incite you to vanity by telling how special you are, how caring you are. Oh, you're so special, you're so caring, thank you. But you know, play a deaf ear to those occasions so we don't fall in the traps of the bad spirits that want us to forget that nothing comes from us. everything comes from God. All right? This is the pretty much a recap for us till now. Today, chapter 7, it's about the renewing pathway. So since mediums are not supernatural beings, how do we calibrate ourselves not to follow in the traps of that illusion that we are extraordinary, right? So let us think about this as we enter this new chapter. Let me say hi to the friends who are here. I see wonderful friends joining us in this current of learning, loving, and serving. Shall we, friends? Hello, Daisy. Big hug to you. Hello, Valéria. How are you, Valéria? Jailton. Welcome, Jailton. Célio. Big hug to you and the family. Teresa Castro. How are you? Carol Correia. How are you? Raquel Bakeshi. Welcome. John Da Rosa. Welcome. Welcome, friend. Laura Colirri, how are you? And Alberto, big hug to you and the beautiful family and the grandchildren. Rihanna, how are you, Rihanna? Melissa, big hug to you, Melissa. Chris Anastasia, big hug to you and your mom. Sunshine, how are you, Sunshine? Lea Severo, big hug to you. Oh, Grazi, how are you, Grazi? Big time, huh? Long time no see you. Big hug to you. Ready, friends? Are we ready? And if you're on demand, big hug to you too. Big hug to those who are joining us on demand and are listening to many names and feel like we're calling your name, sending you also a big hug. Why do we say this? Because as I read in a beautiful statement by Osho, like we need oxygen physically to live, we, the spirits, the soul, we need love. So hugs are ways in which we express our love. We're made by love for love to love, and that's why we send you a hug. Okay? Shall we then enter the classroom with Emmanuel, the teacher, the instructor, and we don't say this to undermine, but let us subject ourselves to his class, to his classroom, and to this lesson, chapter 7, in the renewing pathway. Emmanuel begins by saying, do not claim the alleged ingratitude of others to desert the harvest of the good. In the gear of life, each of us is important part with specific functions. Consider the power of help that has been granted to you. No one receives the superior knowledge just for their own benefit. Let us share the treasure of understanding into portions of goodness. Remember that you are upheld by the support of many hearts that one day sustained you in the domestic home, without expectation of the brilliance of any awards. Reveal the steps of your path, and you will rediscover at the foundation of the wealth of the Spirit an anonymous friend that grade between difficulty and self-denial, or the assistance of a companion who has often forgiven you for your weaknesses and misunderstandings, so that you mature in the understanding of life. Reflect on this, and you will conclude that God never failed you at the precise moment. You will recognize that the same divine providence which has protected you by the devotion of others now awaits you to be the protection of our weakest brothers and sisters. Do not neglect benevolence wherever there is suffering. You will remember the infinite goodness of the Creator that improvises the oasis in the aridity of the desert as much as he cultivates the garden in the acrimony of the swamp. And you will always love learning to distribute the talents of your spiritual acquisitions. No one can guess the prodigies of love that will be born of a simple gesture of kindness before a heart that the less fortunate circumstances have long relegated to dryness, as much as no one can foresee the joy of the fruits that will come from a simple noble seed thrown to the ground long left to neglect. Whatever the setback that sets you up as an obstacle on the pathway, take action towards the good, setting the faith in one's own heart, the landscape changed in the day-to-day. Make the work, yourself as a working instrument and a lamp on the pathway. When you pointed out the truth that enlightens your spirit, your heart has automatically been induced to join the legion of the companions of the Christ. And before Christ, none of us can forget the unforgettable convocation, love one another as I have loved you. So today the tone is about love. Feel this, friends. Remember Jesus saying to Nicodemus, it's not enough to know. One more page. Knowledge for knowledge, it's beautiful, but if we don't feel it, we're just postponing the transformation in our vibration. We were created by God. We are creatures of God, of love. What are we supposed to be? Love. What is love? I don't know. It's a feeling, right? It's a vibration. It's a state of mind, of the heart. And so shall we expand it. So when we talk about being loving, we're talking about allowing the flow of love to expand from God through us to others. There is a shift in consciousness when we do this, because then I'm going to see somebody who is in front of me. And instead of feeling like that person and me, I look at everybody as children of God who are made from love, for love, and to love, and more easily we can connect without obstructions. For the longest time, we've been having the illusion that we're separated from one another. Jesus came to diminish that distance and dissolve it in the waters of the loving action of our everyday life. Do you remember the passage by James? One day, said Humberto de Campos, and it's in the book Good News. There was a day that James, one of the disciples who was like more an intellectual person, he listened to Jesus. He was there, and one day 3 people who were crippled, disabled, came to his house and wanted so much to affiliate themselves with the Master and that proposal of the good news. But then James, feeling himself distanced from that reality, estranged by their appearances, he looked at them and said, "You, Lisandro, who are you? You're crippled and disabled. And you, you're poor. And you, and you're this. Who are you to help in the dissemination of the good news, the gospel?" The three men left heartbroken, but they stopped by to hear Jesus. And that was when Jesus talked about the Beatitudes at the Mount. He was telling everybody that blessed are the ones who are afflicted. Blessed are the poor in spirit, that are not thinking that they are better than others. The ones that are pure in the heart, that are sincere and honest, etc., etc. And in the outlining of the Beatitudes, the three men renew themselves. They renew their courage. They renew their self-esteem, and thus they rejoice. It was then when James understood better. He felt the gospel differently. He then encountered once again the three men who were happy after listening to Jesus. They regained hope. Then James comes, embraces them like brothers in humanity, and say, "Yes, friends, you're welcome to join." He now gets it. How many of us are just like this, like James? We feel distanced from the people whom we encounter in our daily life. Do you recognize why you meet this or that person at work, at home, or in your family? Often we don't. Often we wish people could recognize the treasures that God gives to us in each encounter of each person. Nobody crosses our pathway. We don't cross somebody else's pathway without a reason. And if we devote ourselves wholeheartedly to each and every person by praying, not as necessarily by doing physical actions. Sometimes people are going to meet you at work, and you're going to look at them not knowing exactly why we're here together, but we know God has a reason. Then deep inside, I connect with the guardian angel of that person. And I say, I know there is a reason. May I be a good instrument in the progress of that person. So I am of goodwill and benevolent towards everyone, which is the first step in being charitable. And we all know that the law of God is also the law of charity. It's a law. Today, I was talking to Virginia. She's 5 years old now. And we were talking about friends in school. We were talking about friends being different and having their different ways of playing and their likes and dislikes. Then, inspired by the Spirit mentors, I showed her the Spirit's book. And I said, Virginia, did you know? I've come to know, and I'm learning too, that God has laws. One of the laws is the law of love, justice, love, and charity. Do you know what justice is? I've come to know, and then I showed her the question. When Kardec asks, how can we define justice? And the answer, in respecting the rights of every person. So when I meet people And they have their way of being, and I respect it. I understand it. I am practicing one of God's laws. That's what a medium of God is all about. Hello, Aiden. How are you? Melissa is saying to us, I often ask this question in my mind every time I get to know a new person. Their stories are so similar to mine. It's simply amazing. And you're so right, Melissa. Hello, Paula. Hello, Nora Brazil. So, friends, let us go back now to the message, because Emmanuel has a way of telling us in the way he writes it. It's worthwhile going back to his recommendations and explanations, shall we? In the renewing path. Why does he say this? Because we get tired. Yes. We face the obstacles. In between the title and the first message, the first statement, there is a situation. People in mediumship, when serving and doing the good, they will often find themselves tired, disillusioned, frustrated, right? So, for us, Emmanuel says, first statement, renew yourself. Like the sun that goes down and says, please rest, begin anew, because tomorrow the sun is going to come back again. I will be back, but renew yourself. So one of the things for us as mediums in life, we need to renew ourselves. Hello, Alicia. Welcome. Yes, this is every day at 11 p.m. Okay? All right. But don't forget, friends, if you want to listen to Kardec Radio 24/7, we have an app, free app. Just click on it, Kardec Radio, install it, and in the app, you're going to find 24 hours of program. I often listen to it by clicking on the Amazon Echo. I just say, Alexa, please play Kardec Radio. And I am washing the dishes and enjoying beautiful programs by hosts all around the world. We have more than 4,000 podcasts available to people 24/7. Thank you, Alicia. Welcome, welcome. So we need to renew ourselves. Did you know that when you start working on mediumship consciously, many people don't tell you. They don't tell you. They don't tell you that we need to renew ourselves. But that's a must. It's a must for us. So that's why he says, do not claim the alleged ingratitude of others to deserve the harvest of the good. Meaning, emotional shielding. Because people are ungrateful, do not contaminate yourself. Jesus is our model, and he shows to us that he's not reacting according to people's actions. He modeled for us what it is to take action. But to take action, there is we need to catch our breath in between a person's action and our action, so it doesn't turn into a reaction. So in the next 24/7, 24 hours, this is the homework, okay? The homework is, before you reply to somebody's question, before you take any action according to somebody's action, catch a breath. Relaxation response, to get out of the meal of reactivity, the reactivity meal. So somebody asks a question through a text, Facebook, email, phone call, conversation in person. Breathe. Renew yourself mentally, emotionally. Think of your guardian angel. Think of your connection with God. This was often Jesus' approach. When we study the emotional body language of Jesus, we see that stated therein. That he often was asked questions, but there was a lag between people's actions, questions, and his action. And I say lag in the sense he waited. Also for the person to think about it, for sure. I cannot tell what was in Jesus' mind, but we can assume that in his emotional, spiritual wisdom, he never reacted to people's actions. He was always renewed. So Emmanuel is giving us a clear and straightforward strategy. Do not react to people's ingratitude. Yes, they are not thankful, but who am I? Vanessa, who am I? What is important? God. I'm not God. People shall not worship us, and we cannot allow the worshiping around us. When mediums allow pilgrimage, when mediums allow this worshiping movement around them, it's a sign that they are out of track. Chico Xavier wasn't like this. He kept himself very simple, very much until the end of his life. He never put himself in greater positions. He never chose whom to talk to. He was always serving. Okay? Okay. So, in the gear of life, each of us is an important part. Consider the power of help that has been granted to you. Saying to you, people are going to be ungrateful. Why? Because they are not even grateful to God. Why are they going to be grateful to you? I know many parents who lose themselves in their parenting skills because they expect gratitude. But that's not love. Unconditional love you give without expecting anything in return. So let us be careful, very careful, and renew ourselves. Breathing in, thinking deeply, renewing ourselves, and always, at each second, not only each day, but at each second of our lives, we have a new opportunity to reset ourselves. Okay? Rudy is saying, thank you, Vanessa. Understanding helps me create protective mental reflexes. Thank you, chapter 10. Exactly of thought and life. Perfect. Yes, when I understand, and I understand that people have their own way of being. Many people are in the sleep mode consciously. They do things reacting without noticing. If you ask people, why did you do this? Why did you say that? Why? They're like, because people said it, because people did it, because I just felt it. I don't know. Majority of people don't know. But we are in the training of knowing why. So he says, let us share the treasure of understanding into portions of goodness. So we're being asked to be benevolent. As he says, do not neglect benevolence where there is suffering. People come and they are suffering, and we are benevolent. Which is, what does it mean, benevolence? Volens means will. Bene, good, goodwill. Be of goodwill. Some people are going to say, can you please do this to help me? And then sometimes out of lack of goodwill, we're like, oh no, I can't because I'm too busy, blah, blah, blah. It happens in our family lives. Sometimes we want a glass of water. People are closer to the water fountain. And they're like, oh, if you want it, you get it yourself. I'm like, whoa, that's harsh, right? Why not being the one who serves? Be of goodwill. You know, a good exercise is this. If somebody is famous celebrity, respected one, is before you, are you going to quickly pick up that glass of water? Probably even before the person wanted it. But when it comes to a family member, why do we refrain from being of the same goodwill? Being loving, caring, and attentive. Paying attention to people's needs. Alicia Ramos is asking about who is Kardec. Go to Kardec Radio webpage, kardecradio.com. We have a tab that talks about Allan Kardec, and you can read about it. Feel free to write to us. We have a contact form, and we are happy to answer to your questions if you have any, okay? Hello, Tisa Silva. Finally, friends, at the last parts of this message, he's saying, make yourself a working instrument. And he says more. Remember of the little actions, simple gestures of kindness, joy, hope, courage. And finally, when he says to us, you decide to be an instrument of the good, you connect, he says, with the legion of companions of the Christ. And thus, you start emitting love, receiving love. Remember, André Luiz in the book Mechanisms of Mediumship, that's the real translation of the book, Mechanisms of Mediumship, it says that there are two currents of life, the constructive mental current and the destructive one. When we decide to do the good, we are entering that constructive mental current. When we are hurt, feeling upset, frustrated, we're entering the destructive one. It's up to us to make a choice and enter the constructive mental current. Shall we, friends? So in the next 24 hours, let's exercise ourselves in catching our breath before we take action, learning to renew ourselves in meditation, in relaxation breathing, in good visualizations. After all, Emmanuel says, let us seek the good, feel the good, visualize the good, and mold the good with all the resources we have at hand. Let us make these renewing choices in the next 24 hours as we prepare ourselves for more with Emmanuel. We're going to finalize today with a prayer, and we welcome you to join us in a prayer. Catching our breath. God, you know how much we need this lesson to renew ourselves. So we thank you for sending Emmanuel, who guides us so clearly in practical instructions, so we always choose the good. Open ourselves and direct the will of our will towards constructive thoughts, feelings, words, and actions. May we believe in the good in everyone and in ourselves, and continue on encouraging one another to being children of God. We can always expand our capacity through greater effort and repetition. So we now repeat before you, with you, to you, for you. We love you, God. And feeling your infinite love for us, your providence that never lacks. We shall never be in want because you are our shepherd. May we renew ourselves and continue on being instruments of your love wherever we are, for both incarnates and discarnates. And we pray for those on earth who are living extreme difficulties and need a helping hand. May the vibrations of disconnection amongst ourselves multiply in blessings, bringing new light to their minds and hearts as they have an opportunity to renew themselves. Deeply grateful by making us capable of renewing ourselves, we feel your embrace and ask for your permission to close these moments of study, reflection, and renewal, and so be it. Thank you, friends. Thank you, Rihanna. Thank you, loving and kind souls. Remember, you're a loving instrument of God on earth. Be it. Renew yourself, get your breath, and let us meet again, God willing, tomorrow here at Kardec Radio, always nourishing our souls.